listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Grammer. Wounded Warrior Project supports injured veterans by connecting them with fellow warriors, by serving them through mental health and wellness programs, and by empowering them to live on their own terms. No one should face a battle alone. Join us at woundedwarriorproject.org.
We are Lions. We bring hope where it's needed, support causes that matter, change lives, change communities, change the world. Visit lionsclubs.org to learn more.
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're fighting against childhood cancer every day. At the heart of this battle are our donors.
Most of us want to make some type of difference in the lives of others. St. Jude does miraculous work.
The fact that no one has to pay, it's a place where everyone is treated as an equal.
Everybody is welcome here, and it doesn't matter your religion or what part of the world you're from, all that is taken away. It just gives you some hope.
It's just a nice feeling to put your energy into something that really does genuinely make a difference in a child's life.
There's just no greater gift. If we have the ability to help, then we have a responsibility to help.
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Find out how you can help at stjude.org.
To battle is to fight, to struggle, to overcome, and ultimately for the Marine Corps, it means to win. There is no alternative. It's not just a statement of intent. It's a promise to our nation. A promise kept for more than 2 centuries. A promise of the Marines.
Introducing the YMCA. Sure, you know the Y for a swim or a game of hoops, but we're more than that. We're a cause. When you take a jump shot at the Y, someone else is getting job training. Practice yoga as a team practices her leadership skills. We give people of all ages, incomes, and backgrounds a chance to learn, grow, and thrive. So while you might think of the Y as the place for lifting weights, we're also about lifting entire communities. That's the Y. We're so much more. Visit ymca.net/more.
Hi, my name is Jackie Lovezzo. I'm from Lake Katrine, and I support the Kingston Community Radio because it is an invaluable resource to the community and its residents.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
Okay, welcome back, Greg Chorvis.
Thank you, Lawrence Maxwell. And that was a month.
It wasn't. You look tan. I'm jealous.
I cannot believe that a month. I thought maybe I was dreaming here. I was still asleep, down in on Gulf of Mexico, but apparently not.
That's good. I mean, from the stories you told me that you had good weather. You can't beat that.
I
thought you were gone for the ice storm. So
no, unfortunately, I was here, and then I got back on Friday, and you folks really treated me to a nice little surprise on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Real nice.
Crazy. And it was such a mess, too.
Yeah. So good morning, listeners and viewers. Welcome. You are listening to Kingston Community Radio's Wednesday morning radio show. We're broadcasting live from our studios here at 16 Lucas Avenue, right here in Kingston, New York. 331-9255 is our call-in number, and we would love to hear from you. Whatever is on your mind, whatever you'd like to speak about. We have an awesome lineup of guests here this morning. Michelle Hinchy will be joining us probably virtually at 7:35. And then the ever flamboyant Chief Jid Tinty from the city of Kingston will also be joining us. And I'm expecting Fred Costello shortly. Although I was a little disappointed when he texted me and said he's on his way because I thought maybe Cam would fill in.
He thought Cameron was coming. What do you think, Fred? You think Fred's got shorts on this morning? I mean, it is going to be 60 today.
I would say yes.
Yeah, I would say it's shorts weather. Yesterday, I'm dozing off on the couch yesterday at 3:30, 4 o'clock. I was tired, and I hear all this clanking around, and I look out the window, and Santa Fe, because I live above it on Main Street, they were setting up their patio yesterday, and I'm like, wow, this is a first. March 15th, who would have thought,
Yeah.
Because we have some warm days coming up. Friday, it's supposed to be 70, 71, so I was like, wow, so good, good for them.
By the way,
and they had a full deck last night. I mean, obviously it started raining around 8 o'clock, so they all scurried inside, but, I mean, it was, 56 degrees at 8:30 last night, so.
I know whenever we get the opportunity, when the weather is nice, of course, and we can sit outside and we can eat outside, most of the places we go on, in the summertime, it's
Does Maribella's have outside dining, or is that all inside?
It's kind of it's screened in.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Keep the bugs away.
Well, yeah.
And they serve a lot of seafood there, and the bugs are attracted to seafood, so that's probably the smarter thing to do.
Stella's has got a real nice setup.
Yeah.
Stella's got a real nice setup on Petition Street. The Petition, which is just down from Stella's, or if you're going up Petition Street, it would be just up, as some people would say. And then the Dutch Tavern, they have a large
great
tent.
burgers there.
Yeah, they do.
They got really good hamburgers at the Dutch Tavern.
They do.
That place has been there for a while, too, hasn't it?
Yeah. Do you remember when Greg Hellsmortal owned and ran it?
No, I don't remember that.
Oh, yeah.
He used to own that?
Yeah, he bought it from Jack Kobe.
Wow.
I want to say back in the, shortly after he started the Dutchman, I think. So I want to say that's got to be the early 80s.
Wow, it's been there. Oh, I thought it was wow, it's been there longer than I thought.
Yeah.
No, I
and then
got really good hamburgers.
Leslie and Ed Duffy, they took it over.
That's who owns it now?
No, it's Ted and Dallas. Oh boy, I can't think of their last name. And they just do a great job. They do a great job with things.
So did you watch? I know you don't probably watch hockey. I don't watch either. Did you see? You see Hochul instated the mask thing again, right? I know it got shot down, but she dropped the puck last night at the Ranger game. So she's walking out. You know how you do the opening puck ceremony? Sometimes they bring. It's like throwing the first pitch out of it.
Yeah.
So she did the opening puck drop off, and the whole crowd at the Garden booed her. Now, I don't know if she put the mask mandate back on in New York City. I didn't hear anything about. I mean, I went into Hannaford yesterday, and they didn't make me wear a mask. But this morning, I was watching Spectrum News before I came to work, and they showed her getting booed by Ranger fans because they she put the mask mandate back in effect only after 15 days. It must be just for New York City, because no one said anything to me about the children or anything.
Oh, that's news to me.
It must be New York City because I didn't hear anything.
Because now,
I mean, they definitely booed her. I was just watching it about an hour ago.
Large size venues in New York City, they lifted the vaccine mandate for spectators. So you can get into. Because the incident, what brought it to what caught my eye was who's the basketball player for the Nets?
Oh, Kyrie Irving.
That went into the locker room. He's not allowed to play because he's not vaccinated.
Right, well,
but because they lifted the mandate for spectators, he was allowed to go to the game. First time he went to a game, so I guess he went into the locker room. Jeez.
Oh, and he was. Oh, and the NBA said, "Hey, you're not supposed to be in there."
No players.
New York City said you're not supposed to be in there.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Well, you see what Adams today in the front page of the Post this morning. Throw out the rule. Unvaxxed Yanks and Mets can't play in New York. So we don't know who's vaxxed and who's not for the Mets.
I also heard that on the way down.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nuts. Now, the thing that I'm a little upset about. The mask mandate was supposed to lift the day I was supposed to travel on airplanes. They just extended it to April 20th or April 18th.
18th.
Or something. It was supposed to lift on March 31st. I was like, oh, sweet. But now they've just extended it. And that's the only place you really have to wear a mask is the public transportation thing still.
Right.
They don't really make me wear it when I get into Uber. But planes, trains, automobiles, I think they still make you wear it. I was looking forward to not having to wear a mask on an airplane, especially flights to Florida for 3 hours.
Yeah.
But, if you take JetBlue or you get a good newspaper, then you can just pretty much
Well,
I'm so used to it now that
I usually bring either I get a bottle of water or a bottle of I love.
so you're constantly drinking something. Yeah,
I love the
That's a
green.
good idea.
I love the Lipton green tea, and the other thing is I always take a window seat. I always pick a window
I like
seat.
aisle, so I can get my legs stretched out.
Yeah, but most of these flights now, especially Southwest has a tremendous amount of leg room.
They do.
Compared
and all the
to-
planes are brand new. Have you
Yeah.
noticed that? They smell brand new. You're like, God, these planes are brand new.
But compared to some flights that I've been on, you take like for example Allegiant. You don't have the kind of leg room that you have on Southwest.
And some of I don't like Allegiant, or what's that other one you said, Frontier?
Frontier.
Yeah, I don't like that one either.
I haven't flown.
They're
that.
very cheap though.
I know.
Yeah, they're very cheap. Like you can fly to Florida round trip for under $200.
Yeah.
On both of those airlines.
They had. I was looking if we had opted to take that flight, but again, it left at like 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah, I
got
hate
in,
those-
and that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So the flight was $49. A window seat was $36.
49. How are they making any money at $49?
So they're selling the ticket for $49. An aisle seat was $40. So it was just $9 less for a seat. You buy
That is
and
crazy.
then I think the middle seat was $32 or $30. And then of course there's the taxes and stuff.
Right, but
So-
still $49 for a seat. I mean, that is. I remember one time during COVID, I flew to Florida or flew to North Carolina somewhere. I was going to visit friends. There were 17 people on the flight from Baltimore, Maryland, to Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm like, how is this even possible? There's no way that because my round trip ticket was only like $2.99 or $3 something. So I'm like, okay, say these other 16 people had the same price as me, or maybe it was just a tad more. How are they even covering the fuel for this cost? And then a lady told me, she's like, well, the government will pick up their costs. So they have to keep the flight going. That's what I heard this about Trailways buses. Trailways, they basically did not have, no one was riding the bus to New York City during COVID. I mean, Trailways was basically shut down. There was a bus leaving on the scheduled times all the time. I was hearing that the government would help pay for just to keep the route running, to keep it open to the public just in case it needs. Like every day a bus will leave Port Authority in New York City and go all the way to Delhi. It's like a 6-hour ride from Port Authority to, I mean, it stops everywhere, but they keep, now, how many people do you think go from Port Authority, New York, from New York to Delhi, New York? Probably not that many, but they keep the route open for the people that need to get places. So if seats aren't sold, they'll make it up to them. So that's what I think happened with that. But
see, I encountered the opposite when I flew to Savannah. They were looking for volunteers because they'd overbooked the flight.
Oh, really?
When I flew back, because our
they wanted
national
to put you on
conference,
standby?
What's that?
They wanted to put you on standby?
No, they were going to give me a round trip ticket to any place in the continental United States and $200.
$200?
But I had to be, now, listen to this. I had to be in Savannah by 2 o'clock at the latest, okay? I had a Sunday morning flight out. So after our national conference, I went to Florida for a long weekend, and I flew back home out of Tampa. When I flew back home out of Tampa, I was on a direct flight from Southwest. Or did we land in Baltimore? Anyway, they were offering round trip ticket. They were looking for 7 volunteers. They got up to, they started at $200 and went to $400, went to $600, $800 plus a round trip ticket. I almost did it.
How long was the layover? What did you have to sacrifice to get all that?
Oh, I didn't get it.
No, I'm saying, but for the people that would have taken that.
They would, no, the flight wouldn't have been till next day.
Oh, so they would have had to stay up. They would have had to sit around the airport for 10 hours or 12 hours.
Right. Yeah,
For
because
$800
the flight out was at, actually.
Now, was it an $800 voucher for Southwest, or was it $800 that you could put in your pocket?
You know, that's a good question.
Because if it was a voucher for something, like to spend in the whole, to spend in the, it would have to be money. Like if I could deposit it into my checking account, then I don't know. Maybe I could sit around for 10 hours.
So anyway,
$80 an hour.
At $200, a couple people took the bite at it. They got down to where there was 2 people that they needed to volunteer to get off.
Oh man, you should have held tight.
And they raised it to $800. So now I'm thinking, what about the people that paid the $200 or the $400?
Yeah, they're gonna be. Hey, I want that deal too. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, how did they? I mean, they're kind of
every flight that I took.
That was Southwest, or was that what airline was that?
That was Southwest.
Southwest.
That was Southwest.
Now, one time we were backing out of the gate in Albany. This was like, I think it was like a year, half, 2 years ago. We're backing out of the gate at Albany. The cabin door shut. You can feel us backing up. All of a sudden, we get, 5 or 15 feet. Everything stops and the lights turn back on because it was like an early morning red-eye flight. Oh, I'm sorry, folks. We have to deplane. Something's not working and we have to get it fixed. Now, there's not a lot of flights that lead. You always have to go to another. Going to Fort Lauderdale, you have to go to a connecting. So when we got out, I was like, oh, crap, man. The next flight going to Baltimore, that flight was leaving at 6. The next one wasn't leaving until like 10:30 or 11. I had a hair appointment at, I forget what it was. I wasn't getting to Florida until like 6 hours. I was supposed to land at noon. I wasn't getting there till like 6 or 7 o'clock. Not only did they pay for, they took care of the flight that I was on. They paid for that, so I got a credit. They gave me a voucher towards whatever flight I wanted to fly next. I think that was like $150. And they gave me, I still haven't been able to use them because drinks haven't come back, but I got about 7 drink coupons. You ever see the drink coupons on Southwest?
Well, yeah,
I haven't been able to use them
because
yet.
If you're a Rapid Rewards member,
I am a Rapid Rewards member. Yeah.
Okay, they send you in the mail.
Yeah.
Okay, either 2 or 4. Now on the Southwest flights I was on, they were offering drinks.
No, it's still right now. It's still that little bag of chips, and then you have to. On the Southwest flight, they hold you up a card, and in the beginning, you would put your finger up: 1 for Coke, 2 for Diet Coke, 3 for water, 4 for coffee.
Yeah, see, we didn't have to do that.
Wow. No, I'm a Rapid Rewards member. Matter of fact, the flight I'm going down for my birthday, not the one in March this month, but the one I go down in the end of May, I'm actually staying at the Guitar. Have you seen the Guitar in Hollywood?
Yeah,
the new Hard Rock Hotel,
just north of Miami.
Yeah, no, it's actually technically in Hollywood, Florida. It's right next to the airport. You can't miss it. It's like it's as tall as it's a gigantic guitar that sits in the middle of nowhere, really.
Yeah. So it's got to be the same one that we went by 2 years ago.
Yeah, they just built it. It's brand new. Just built it 2 years ago. So we were supposed to go. A friend of mine that lives in Florida, he comes up for Giant games. I've known him 20 years. His wife's birthday is like a day after mine. So I turned 50 this year, reluctantly. And so we were talking about, she's like, oh, they live down there. Oh, we haven't been to the Guitar yet. So let's go. The rooms are $800 a night, but it comes with breakfast in the morning that's delivered to your room. You just fill out a card and they'll bring you whatever you want. And it comes with dinner every night. So basically, for lunch, if you're hungry, now you get free drinks in a casino all the time. They want you to gamble, so drinks are on the house. But you go to the buffet for lunch. So I was like, well, that's not too bad. Breakfast in the room, and the room was pretty nice. But so 3 nights, I think it was. It was like 6. What was it? It was 2 nights. One of the nights was only $500. The other 2 were like $799. But it's a nice hotel, though. The room is 700 square feet. I'm like, oh, my God, that's almost as big as... I was like, my apartment is like 900 or 950. I was like, holy crap. So that's cool. But anyway, we got a couple announcements there.
Yeah, we do. So let me get to those there. I don't know if Fred got delayed or what, but...
maybe he went to McDonald's and got his breakfast. Hint, hint.
You never ever know. So we've got a pancake breakfast coming up at the Pankaki Congressional Church.
I think I forgot to pull that out. Was that this week? last weekend?
It was this last weekend.
I forgot to pull it out.
Hopefully, our listeners and viewers made it to that because it looked like a yummy menu there.
Yeah.
So we got to get rid of that. So, hello, Kingston clean sweepers and potential clean sweepers. Think spring, and it's certainly going to feel like it the next couple of days. It's been a long, cold winter. Now it's time to get ready to clean our beautiful city. Friends of Historic Kingston in the city of Kingston will be having their annual Clean Sweep event. It's time to get your brooms and rakes ready and start the date on your calendar. Star the date on your calendar. The 13th annual Kingston Clean Sweep will be held on Saturday, May 7th, 9 a.m. to noon. We sincerely hope you will join us, as many as you have done in the past. However, we are also reaching out to new groups so that you can join in our efforts to clean our community, show our pride. Mayor Steve Noble has pledged the support of the City of Kingston to collect the filled bags immediately following the event. So that's the Kingston Clean Sweep, 13th annual, Saturday, May 7th, 9 a.m. to noon. And what else do we have here? We've got the pork schnitzel takeout lunch on Sunday, March 27th, noon to 1:30. 37 Greenkill Avenue in Kingston. Lunch takeout only includes pork schnitzel, with or without, mushroom sauce, roasted potatoes, green beans with bacon, dinner roll, and dessert. Cost is $15. Order is required by Wednesday, March 23rd. Cash or checks at the door at time of pickup. Well, that's interesting. They don't even require you to RSVP. Coach House Players, the longest operating community theater group in Ulster County, is proud to present Drinking Habits by Tom Smith, directed by Barbara Meltzer, April 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 8, 9, and 10 at the Coach House Players, 12 Augusta Street, here in Kingston. Tickets, $20 general admission, $18 for seniors, 16 and older, $10 for youth, 18 and under. That is the Coach House's Drinking Habits by Tom Smith, directed by Barbara Meltzer, April 1, 2, 3, and 8, 9, and 10. And you can go on to their website for more information, coachhouseplayers.org. And the Sorgady Sports Hall of Fame, after a 2-year hiatus due to the pandemic, will resume their tradition of honoring those who made significant impact on Sorgady sports history. Sorgady Sports Hall of Fame enters its 59th year of existence this year, and the induction banquet will take place on Saturday, April the 9th. Doors open at 5 p.m. with a cocktail and greeting hour from 5:30 to 6:30, followed by dinner and induction ceremonies at 6:30 at Diamond Mills, 25 South Partition Street. The 2022 inductees from 2 years ago include Pat Caffrey, Jay Dodick, Mark Herb, along with Steve Ener Martin, posthumously, and Jimmy Spears, also posthumously. And the 2022 President's Award recipient is former town supervisor and a former KCR host, Greg Hellsmortal. So all are invited to come out and celebrate the achievements of this year's inductees and be part of a great Sorgady's institution and tradition. Tickets by contacting Mike Hasenbach, 914-388-2348, or MikeHasenbalg@yahoo.com. And Supervisor Fred Costello just walked in. He timed that beautifully because I had to take care of all the announcements. I was going to shove some on him.
I'm disappointed, Fred. You don't have shorts on. I know.
But what I'm really disappointed is when you sent the text, I thought you were going to just bail out today and Cam was going to come.
Yeah. You should have told me that you took that selfie that morning. I would have put it right on Facebook. I'm going to put it on there today.
Where is Shaw?
He just gave it to me just
really?
10 minutes ago.
You sent it to me at 7:05 when I was still asleep in Florida.
You're on vacation having a great time. We could have just let you get away with that.
I say, who the heck?
I heard you talking to somebody in the parking lot. Who was that?
Chief's here.
Oh, well, bring him in.
I told him to follow me, and he said no because we're on air.
He could have come in and sat.
I want to make sure he got his. There he is.
His cue.
It doesn't take long to get him on the air.
Okay,
right?
now, if Michelle does show in person, you're going to have to give her the front seat.
That's
for
fine,
until
too.
8 o'clock.
Absolutely.
But I think she's joining us virtually.
So, Jid, tell me, did you get a landline?
No. So we got to talk about the whole thing. We can. So I checked with Verizon. We can do it.
Because just real quick before we get into your segment, when Cameron Rylance, our Tuesday host, also makes syrup, when he found out what we were going to do, he's like, well, I want to do that too. So he's the president of the Elks Lodge. So Greg will read it in a few minutes, but Tuesday, March 29th, he's doing his syrup now. He says it's not really that. So far, it's not good for syrup because it's getting cold and it's making it.
Just telling Fred, yeah.
Yeah, it's not as good as it was. So
that's what I figured we'd talk about. It's not,
no, that's fine.
By April, the season's shut down at this point. I mean, it's actually like today, nothing's going. We got the vacuums on. We're pulling.
Right, he says it's not doing good this year.
It wasn't a good season.
March 29th, we're having a live remote and a breakfast at the Elks Lodge. He's bringing his syrup, and I was like, well, I'm going to have to get Jid there to taste it out to make sure
I'll
it's
bring
good.
ours.
And then he's like, well, I'm going to go to his too. And, I was like, well, great. I was like, I was going to make sure he gets a landline. So, so I hope that you can come. Breakfast is on us.
Excellent. I'll be there.
It's March 20th. You know where Elks Lodge is on Harley Avenue? Yep. Great. Awesome.
Now also our listeners and viewers are welcome. It's very reasonable, $10, and the breakfast includes eggs, obviously, pancakes, bacon, sausage, coffee and juice, and I imagine lots of syrup.
And
bring ours.
Not for me. And they're also doing mimosas too. So
they're doing mimosas.
I got to go to work that day, so I won't be drinking any mimosas. I also have to drive after I leave there, but.
So,
anyone walking there?
Kingston, KCR, Kingston Community Radio, will be broadcasting live that morning with Cameron Rylance and Nina Pastapak doing their normal show from that location. So come on out and join us on March 29th. That's not next Tuesday, it's the following Tuesday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. And as Lawrence mentioned, the Elks Lodge at number 550. Live remote.
So you guys want to go to break now, and then we'll come back with the chief?
No, we got Michelle Hinchy. Chief's on. Oh no, Michelle's at 8:30.
Michelle's at 8:30, right?
8:30, right? Okay.
She's first day back.
You want Michelle versus me? I'm good.
I mean, no offense,
right here. So.
No offense, Jid. She looks
he was
better.
in the parking lot. I said, "Boy, he's early today." Okay, it's March.
It's his first day back.
It's March. That's on at 7:30.
Right.
Okay. Right. Okay. Let's go to a break.
Okay, we'll be back in a few, folks.
Listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston, on your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Have you ever experienced a wish come true? For a child battling a critical illness, a wish come true can be a turning point. One song, one dance, one game, one adventure, one moment changes everything. Make-A-Wish needs your support to grant the wish of every eligible child. Visit wish.org now to help grant more life-changing wishes. Together, we can transform lives, one wish at a time.
We all come together and stand together to serve our veterans. We invest in the latest technology.
We take the time to train the next generation of doctors and nurses. We work together to make sure we heal their bodies and their minds.
This is our mission. More than 300,000 of us working as one, together with families and loved ones. No matter where they live in this country, we'll be there.
We stand strong, united. Stand with us in caring for our veterans.
Hi, this is Jared Mans from the Spring Lake Fire Department, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This programming is brought to you by the Friends of Kevin Cahill. As a strong advocate of local broadcasting, Assemblymember Cahill urges you to support Kingston Community Radio with your time and donations. Your contributions keep KCR vital and on the air at FM 92.5, AM 920, and on the web at mykcr.org. Please join Assemblymember Cahill and send your gifts of $10, $25, or more to Kingston Community Radio, Post Office Box 4364, Kingston, New York 12402. Together, let's keep KCR alive.
You get to see your condo.
Thank you, Lawrence. And listeners and viewers, welcome back. Those that were with us the first half hour, those just joining us, 331-9255. And I kind of botched things earlier because I had mentioned that Michelle Hinchy was joining us at 7:30, and the flamboyant Chief Tinty was going to come in at 8 o'clock.
Flamboyant.
But I had it all wrong because the flamboyant dude is here right now. And and see, Lawrence, you didn't pick up on that mistake of mine when I first met you.
You've been gone for a month, and you got a nice tan, and I was just like, we'll let you ease back into the...
So, Chief Tinty, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Good morning. Like I said before, if she shows up, just park her right there, and we're good. Yeah, no problem. So, yeah. So what's the topic? I came in, we talked a little bit about maple syrup.
Yeah.
We're going to do something at the Elks Log. We're going to bring our Ulster County award-winning syrup and put it right along what Cameron's going to be doing.
I think we should do some type of Pepsi challenge.
Listen, we're all about it.
We'll blindfold people like Paula Strang, and we'll be like, put a cup in her hand. Which one do you like better?
So I'll put this out there. I know it's off topic from law enforcement and public service, but we do have a Maple Weekend coming up this weekend. This weekend and next weekend, it's essentially an open house for most sugar houses around here that sign up to the Maple Producers Association of New York State. So basically just show up. I think we start, I want to say 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday and Sunday. Should be relatively good weather. The sap has not been running this week because of the heat, but we do have some sap in the tank, so we're going to be boiling that off. But,
Now, next week, I see overnight lows are going to be getting down like around freezing, almost like it was this morning.
Yeah.
Now, that sap will start running again?
Yeah, as long as we're looking for the buds on the maple trees. Once they start budding,
that's it. It's over.
Pretty much. As it stands now, we tap relatively on time. I'll say there are a couple of spots where we tap late, but.
And when was that?
We started end of January. Tapping the trees.
Oh.
Yeah, tapping the trees at the end of January.
You
the
collect
ice storm.
sap that late?
What's that? We're not collecting. It's not running yet.
Okay.
Just prepping. I mean, so what really kind of set us back was the ice storm. I know it was
what I was going to ask you.
Catastrophic for most of Ulster County, but as I woke up, I took a walk up the driveway, and all I could see was those ice branches snapping left and right in the woods, and I'm thinking, oh no! And we're running tubing, so every little branch that hits it, and
a piece of tube.
So for the listeners, what essentially it is this high strength cable that runs up through the woods, kind of finds its path up. It gets anchored at one end to a tree, and the other anchored to a tree, and we probably run 800,000 feet, and get support sticks here and there, and then we attach tubing to it, 1 inch or 3/4 inch tubing. Specifically designed for maple syrup and sap, rather. Then we tap our laterals. There's a main line, a lateral, and then from the tree down to the lateral is called the drop line. So a lot of learning over the last couple of years, but so far we've done, I think, 2 midweek boils, which run late, when you're getting off of work at 4 and then starting the evaporator up. And with our operation, we don't have heat in the sugar house, so every time we get done boiling, we got to drain everything out and shut it down and clean it up.
So you don't lose the equipment?
So, so otherwise it'll freeze, right, once we're running. But it's, we usually, honestly, in the past couple of years, not with COVID, but before that, the Maple Weekends just draw an incredible crowd. They just show up out of New York City, most of them, or come down, and I'll say we have a mid-range operation, enough to keep us busy, so between splitting the wood for the evaporator, collecting the sap, cleaning all the equipment, bottling, filtering,
You're not too upset that it was a bad season.
Yeah, I won't lie to you.
It could be over.
We talked about it coming up here, when I'm out there at 10:30 at night with the headlamp on, the tractor running, pulling the big tank, pumping in the back of the woods, and we're conscious of the environment. So as soon as I get there, I try to shut all the equipment down. But I won't lie, 10:30 in the backwoods of this property, you hear a couple of branches breaking here and there. You see a couple of eyes up on the rocks and stuff. You're thinking, I wonder who wants to sap more. But it's not bad. So it really is a family operation. I can't tell you how many people come up to help us, and we couldn't do it without them, honestly. They give up their own time to...
Oh, that explains why Brandon Harkin is off again this week.
Yes, it is. He is one of them, in fact. And I think, and I'll dare say, that Brandon may... So I'm going to share a funny story on radio, including the viewers. So my nephew Brandon, about the same age as my son, we lived very close. He was over the house all the time. We're a very close family. So he shows up and he wants to help tap trees. So we have two teams of about 4 to 5 people each, and as we go through the woods, we have the hard hats on because there's been some close calls with small widowmakers up there hitting people in the head. So now we don't take any chances, and so we're going through the woods, and so somebody normally taps, drills the hole, and then so Brandon was trying his hand at tapping. And I'm telling you, he was swinging that thing like he was driving a nail into this tree. And I go, hey, I'm screaming from like across the wood line. I said, hey, it's called tapping. Stop beating on that tree like that. It's tap, tap, tap. So I actually gave him one of these little, almost a plastic hammer, just so he couldn't hurt himself. So, and I love him, I tell you. He's a great family, great kid. But yeah, I'm not sure why he still hangs around me. I am.
He probably loves it.
Yeah, I don't know if he does or not. I truly, my family looks at me as if I'm a psychological terrorist. There's certain things I do that just they like, what? I'm like, oh, it's okay. You don't have to do that.
I thought the same thing.
I get a little bit of that look once in a while.
As a father, you have to have some sort of mechanism.
Yeah,
right? It's got to be. So
I get that look once in a while. We're going to do what? When? Now?
So, I mean, with these events, we normally we have the capability to do weddings there, usually 10 to 12 weddings a year in Marbletown with our place. So it's naturally set up. When we have it, we have chairs and tables. People can sit and go up there, take a tour around it. But one of the things a lot of times is there's so much traffic that, I have to get involved and people show up there and I'm like, how about park her there? Park that one over there, park her over there, park her over there, and park him there, and park her over there. You have to do it like it's constant. And then there's a lull in the action, and then you come back, and now you're doing the same thing. Well, park her over there, park her over there, park her over there. And people are just like, it's amazing how much work it takes. And we couldn't do it. This is a big thank you for friends and family that show up, and Ryan Kuhn, from Saugerties, him, Jenny, his wife, he brings his baby down. Like, he's there, he's throwing the wood in. Julie Noble comes out, she's there with us all the time, splitting wood, stacking, doing all, the bottling, the filtering, my family, my, nieces, nephews, my daughter, my son-in-law, I'm still saying it, right? They got married this year. And of course, we couldn't do it without the energy behind it all. My wife, Elisa, she's out there doing it, and I'm surprised she's not calling in to try to promote it a little bit. Every day there's a new Facebook post about Maple Weekend, and so we're kind of stuck all the time. It is. It is a fun event. It really is. I mean, there's a lot of work. If it starts at 10, we usually, we're up at 5:30 trying to get everything ready, and people don't want to show up and nothing's going on, right? So that's going to be the challenge. As we mentioned, we were talking about doing a live stream from the farm in April. We're not going to have sap. Maple season essentially is over at that point. It's just cleanup. So, but I'm looking forward to the Elks Log, and we are going to bring, right, Elisa? We are going to bring a bunch of our different syrups. She does an incredible number of flavored syrups now. And,
I remember last year. I think you missed the show last year. Or were you here?
I didn't get to eat pancakes, but I remember getting. We did that twice, I think. I don't know. I don't remember.
You've done it a couple times here. We might have skipped.
I doubt we did it in studio for COVID.
Yeah, no, we wouldn't have done it, but we definitely did it last year. Yeah, because your wife was here.
Yeah.
And she brought a whole bunch of goodies. Yeah. And there was syrup.
And that's the thing. People show up there. They do waffles. They do pancakes. This year they're doing fudge. They've got so many different things that, again, listen, it used to be fun. I'll say, when it's a hobby, it's fun, right? You sit around, you watch it boil down. You're like, wow, we collected 10 gallons yesterday. Woo, and that was a little jar. And but to the point now where it has turned into really a business. It's a business. And for those 2 to 3 months, because what's unseen a lot of times is, people might get there, and as the evaporator's drawn up syrup, we're showing them how to use the hydrometer to check sugar content, and how it goes from the draw-off tank to the filter to the bottler, and then from there how we bottle and store. But when you look at maintaining the woods, right? the amount of chainsaws, the tractors, the logging winches, stuff that you've got to clean. And with that ice storm, like I said, as devastating as it was to Ulster County, I was in the woods for 3 days. 3 days, after work, getting up there, helmet on, dragging stuff off the lines, cranking them back up, fixing all the laterals. And
So did you have any lines that actually snapped?
Yeah.
You did?
Oh, yeah. Well, so the lateral lines, we use a 5/16 tubing. We don't use buckets anymore unless they're so remote, but buckets are labor intense, right? You've got to go there, grab it, pour it into a tank, put it back up. The tubing is much easier. So even when there's a small stand of maple, maybe 6 or 8 trees, we'll tube them together into one collection drum and then go back and pump the drum out.
The sap it won't freeze?
No. So yes and no. So so natural reverse osmosis, right? So what happens is you want to boil down, essentially around here for sugar maples, it's about a 40-to-1 ratio. 40 gallons of sap will make 1 gallon of syrup. That's traditionally what about a 2% sugar content. So there's a little bit of sugar in it, right? A little bit. What happens is when the tanks or the drums freeze, when it gets below a certain point, essentially that block that's in there is just water. There's no sugar in it. So you pull that out, and now you've got...
You saved yourself some hours.
Now you save some hours. There's sugar makers up north in Vermont, big commercial operations, miles and miles of tubing, that they'll drive their tanks into these big freezers, freeze it, grab a crane, pull the chunk of ice out, and now they've got a lot more concentrated sap. But the new standard for efficiency is reverse osmosis pumps. We have a small one, above a hobby level, that we hook up to the sap, and we just run it. It uses electricity, high-pressure pumps, and filters, and essentially one tube comes out permeate water, which is essentially distilled non-mineral water, as clean as it can be, and then the other side comes out concentrated sap. So every time it runs through the pump, you're removing about half the sugar content. Our limitation is...
Just curious, because normally with that you're trying to create drinking water.
Right.
And that's the spoil, so to speak, but that you're trying to get the leftover.
Yeah, so the permeate itself, and I've never tried it, they tell you not to drink it. It is as pure water, there's nothing in it. It is absolutely removed of everything. We save it for cleaning because the old timers used to call it hungry water. When you put it into a pan, it will start to draw the minerals back into it. So we clean everything with hot vinegar, everything's stainless steel, lead-free. We're trying to move towards that part of it. But the permeate itself is valuable for the cleaning purposes because once you heat that up, there's 2 ways we collect the water. 1, the permeate water from the reverse osmosis, and 2, the steam hood. We have a steam hood, a collection hood, that we collect that steam. And this year we added a tank that keeps the syrup hot when it gets pulled out by using that steam hood. We're still running into some bumps here. Ryan, who really is the sugar maker for the evaporator, he knows that thing. Like, he's been running it. I think we've had it for 4 seasons now. It's a big one, 3x10 machine. He knows every creek and and I may have said this before on the show. Once he gets in his thing, that's it. Like, you don't interrupt him, don't get him off it. He's got, and then the one thing this year we added as a result of going up to the conference this year, which was nice. After COVID, everything got shut down. They reopened these conferences. Tremendous amount of knowledge up there. Are stack thermometers. So most people who know what they're doing have used them. We just never invested in one before. So now it's essentially a thermostat, temperature gauge for your stack. So the heat that's being pushed up the chimney, you're measuring. In the past, we used timers. So Ryan would load the evaporator with wood, shut the door, time it, so about every 4.5 minutes is the average for what we're doing. Our wood, our consistency, mixer, combination of hardwood and softwood. And then as the timer went off, he'd load another batch in there. That's not as consistent as watching the thermostat registering the heat up the chimney. Because now, if we're running at 1,200 degrees, and now the temperature starts to drop to 11 or 1,000, you know the fire's dying. Load that fire, right? It doesn't matter if it's 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. There's a difference in the size of the wood, the type of wood, the quality of the wood itself, right? Some's 3 years old, 2 years old. So there's a lot going on, right? Big commercial sugar.
You can make the boil too hot. So
not really. No, you could
keep that.
Yeah, I mean, if you look inside, when he opens that door, because we use blowers to actually introduce air to really get the flames going, the walls are 6-8 inches thick of fire brick. There's really no way you can overheat that unit. The box itself is designed to take that heat, but the main firebox is right underneath the front pan, which is the sugar pan. That's where the syrup's going to be. The back pan is the boil pan. That's where you're creating all the evaporation. So when he gets this thing going, you can barely see inside the building. The steam
everywhere,
bellowing out of this thing is amazing. So, but it is a tremendous amount of work. It really is a labor of love, and like I said, a big shout out to the family and friends, because we just couldn't do it without them. If you want to see it, show up. No pressure. You don't have to buy anything. Part of what we're trying to do is educate. We love the looks. We really do love the look on little kids' faces when they see how the stuff is made. And when he pulls that big door open on that evaporator, the heat that comes out of there is just, he's got like you'd see when they're making steel. It's amazing. Like I'm surprised he doesn't have one of those big hoods on with the gloves, and he usually trims his beard down so it doesn't catch fire. But I saw that he just cleaned it up the other day, so I think he's getting ready again. But he really is in tune with it. And for those of you that do like maple syrup, come out. Again, no pressure. You can check out all the flavors, all the things, and my wife puts a lot of time. Even now, I think she's home baking stuff, doing stuff, making things. I don't know. She's always busy. So, but we take turns, right? She's in the house. She's getting the shop, putting all this stuff together, stocking the shelves, labeling, getting everything ready for it. And last night I didn't come in until late, pumping the tanks out, making sure everything's on the chill. And yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Yep. But again, we say the saying that was given to us once. Boy, we're glad to see maple season come, but we're happy to see it go. It's a lot, right? And like any crop, whether it's hay.
Yeah, and especially when you have a lousy year, it's got to be a little disappointing.
It is. We were expecting a lot more. We added probably another 150 taps in addition to what we had last year. Again, because we had a lot of help. So we ran new lines in places, and our woods themselves. We work with a forester that was recommended to us by one of the DEC officers. And Lori Raskin of DWM, she comes out once a year and she essentially marks our wood line for us. We're part of and not only do we have an agricultural exemption because we are considered farmers, but we also have a DEC 480A exemption. And again, it's a tax savings for us, but essentially it's a way for us to manage the land that we're responsible for. You know, my father taught me years ago, it's not your land. You know, for the time that you're alive, you're in charge of it. You know, and so we try to do that. We maintain it, we clean it. You know, we walk through the woods constantly, and really just because it's quiet back there. And you know, we have we put in a big solar field, 17 and 20 acre solar field in the back. So,
wow.
Oh yeah, big, 2 megawatt solar field in the back, and so that draws people's attentions and stuff. And but it's a lot of work, you know, mowing and landscaping, and it just never stops. You know, you go from snow plowing in the winter to mowing in the summer, and we're still bringing the property back. You know, at the time the former owner Frank Brooks had a dairy farm there. I still say one of the hardest working people I've ever met in my life, and you have to be, right, when you've got cows and 2 milkings a day. And but he moved his operation for almost 10 years. That property was vacant. They just used it for the hayfield in the back. So everything was overgrown and pulled. You know, the trees started taking over the property again. You know, and so we got there and started cleaning it up. But a tremendous amount of work, and it's still to this day a tremendous amount of work. It just really is. So. But we couldn't do it without family. Where they come up there, and we're offering. It's full now, but we work with Cornell Cooperative Extension, and they are doing a logging class. They usually do 2 a year, and they use our place to host it. We host it for them. We set up chairs and tables. The instructors come out, show people how to, from the basics. I've never held a chainsaw to now you're dropping these big 50-foot pines in the back, and it's amazing to see the reactions on people that have never run a saw before, ever, to see them start it, feel the vibration, And in some cases, depending on the size saw they have or what they plan on doing, right? Some people show up and just want to be able to use a chainsaw in case there's an emergency. And others want to, they're young and they want to progress through. And
They'll get cured of that pretty quick. That's hard work,
yeah,
man.
it's hard
Dangerous
work,
as
yeah.
can possibly
And I got to
be.
tell you, there was one gentleman who came out from they call it Game of Logging. He came out there and logger for as long, salty old guy. I'm telling you, he talked about a psychological terrorist. Everybody in that class that I took, he held nothing back. He made fun of everybody, and as long as it wasn't your turn in the barrel, it was funny to laugh at. But yeah, he was amazing. He dropped trees. Somebody in the class, who I'll say was a bit of a knucklehead, challenged him on dropping a tree. And he said, I gave his credentials and stuff, and you could kind of tell from his equipment, this guy, he's been there. And at one point, he challenged them. He says, you can pretty much make a tree go anywhere you want. It just depends. There's some limitations, right? If the crown is all the way over here and it's leaning this way, it's a little bit more difficult. But and so the one guy says, yeah, well, you can't make that one go that way. And he says, oh, I can make that one go anywhere you want. And he said, you can, yeah. Gave us a little flag, and he said, put it where you want it. And he went out there and dropped this flag in the ground in the middle of our woods back there, and he started looking at it, looking up, looking back, walked back on it, and started cutting into the tree, looking at the saw, started wedging it, and he had this lean, and it just started moving that big, monstrous pine, and it came down, and he was within 4 inches.
Flag?
With the branches, smashed that flag right in there, and proved his point, So, but
Sometimes you
but
just have to settle an argument.
And he did. That guy never said another word the entire class. He definitely. Everybody bought into it, and but he was very patient. As much as I know he was busting some chops, he was very patient with everybody. There were people there that have never. Literally, there was one person that showed up with the saw still in the box. Like when you bought it
out of the box.
in the box, and their safety was paramount. They probably spent 2 hours just on safety rules, helmets and gloves, and because we did have a close call last year. We were cleaning up the woods probably in December, and my brother-in-law was with us, and at the time I was the only one with a forestry helmet on because I was cutting, and he was probably 20 feet back. Wasn't even close to me. And a small branch, 2 foot by maybe 3 inches, 2.5 inches in diameter. I cut, and I turn around, and he's like this, and it had just glanced the back of his head. And so, left a little lump, no cut, but so at that point we invested in a whole bunch of hard hats. Yeah, so you can't take a chance back there, absolutely not.
My dad loved to cut wood.
Before we get off subject, for those that our listeners and viewers that may want to attend, what is the location? What is the address?
We're located right on Route 209. The address is 2585, and it's the big sign out front, New Beginnings Farmstead.
New Beginnings Farmstead.
You pull right in there. It's a nice wide driveway. Now that the solar people got involved, black-topped, and you go up there, you can't miss it. You're gonna, as soon as you pull in the driveway, you'll see the steam. You can't, and that's what happens. People that know what we do will drive past and then pull back in, and they go, "Hey, we saw the steam. We see you're boiling, And but we've had a couple of sugar makers stop by and said, "Hey, how's the season?" I go, "It's not good at all." And they go, "Yeah, same with us. We're just not getting the draw." You need the temperature fluctuation. You got to be above freezing during the day and below freezing at night to really draw the sap up through the tree and back down. And we just weren't getting that. It was either a couple of warm days or a couple of cold days, but we need that temperature change on there. So yesterday was a good draw. It wasn't bad initially, but this week, they're talking about hitting 60 degrees, right? So it's going to be warm the rest of this week. But we'll see. God controls the weather, right?
Can't do anything about it.
When we did the academy, I remember putting the calendar together, and I'd tell the recruits, okay, December 15th is our last PT test. You got to be ready. And a couple of them said, well, Lieutenant, what about snow or rain or cold? Or I go, oh, we pick the day. God picks the weather. I don't know what to tell you. You turn to him. I don't know what to tell you. That's the way it's going to be, And we run them with snow. Clearly if it's a foot of snow or something, but if it's snowing out, they still run. Police work doesn't stop because the weather's bad, right?
Doesn't care about the weather.
Doesn't matter.
Some of your greenies going to happen.
But it's...
you mentioned your pine trees a couple times. Are they sick?
So there's a couple now that I've run into, and we have, again, without exaggeration, monstrous pines. Nobody wants them. In the past, because we're part of this 488 program, in about 6 years, we're due for a timber harvest. So we work with a forester that comes in, and Lori will take care of marking the trees, and essentially they'll cut down the large stuff. And some people are like, oh, you're cutting the trees, but it's designed. The plan that we have is designed to keep the forest healthy, because once it's too large, it kills
crowds everything else out.
That's it. So, and because we really are trying to design our land around maple trees, every year she comes out and she marks trees that are either dead. The dead standing, which is easy, where she says anything dead standing, just take them down. They're a hazard. But there's certain trees that I look at that look healthy to me. I'm like, boy, that's a nice tree. It just doesn't seem like, and she'll explain, well, the reason you got to take this down, and it's overcrowding these other ones, and this is the kind we want, and you don't want too many nut trees growing around your maple trees, and because this year, one of the things we've experienced that we haven't had in the past, and I don't know what brought it on, is squirrels. There were squirrels on our maple
Chewing the
line.
lines and stuff.
I can't tell you how many curse words I was screaming out there in the woods. I mean, because you have to replace the tubing.
Yeah.
The tubing gets chewed. They're looking for the sweet stuff, and we wash the lines. I mean, we do a sanitary operations that created, and it's just this one section. The rest of them they didn't touch. Amazing. Oh yeah.
Is that the first time you ever incurred that?
To that level, yeah. Occasionally you'll get, usually about 2 feet, 2.5 feet from the tree to the lateral is where they'll chew, right? They try to stay near the tree, they'll come down. The 1-inch main line were chewed right through.
Wow.
And the lines are, they're not on the
That's
ground.
a hard worker
These
right
things are-
there.
Yeah.
The reason I asked that is because talking the last 2 or 3, more like 5, 6, 7 years, it seems like the squirrel population has exploded. There's squirrels all over the place. There's dead squirrels in the road.
I'm shocked. I really am. I mean, we have fox, coyotes, and so on the property. And like I said, I'm not a hunter. I was a hunter. I don't hunt anymore. I don't have time. What we noticed last year was the deer population. It was noticeable.
It smelled.
It was awful. The smell of death, right?
Yeah.
The dying, rotting, decaying body back there from the carcass. And so, there was always a concern. Once we get wind of it, really, we go out there and try to find it, because, you can't have an event at a wedding. You can't have a wedding with 100 people there. Then all of a sudden they're going, what's that? So, but yeah, so the pine trees are a problem. The ash, surprisingly, are coming back. I know there's a renewed term, there's a term for them, but some of the ash trees that died off, the stumps are starting to grow back sprouts. So interesting, interesting to see that.
That is interesting.
A hardy, I think that's maybe what they're calling it, hardy ash. But it makes good firewood. You just got to get to it. Like I said, we have a tractor with
20 years away, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
The ash tree coming back, even from a stump, it's going to take a while.
Yeah, it's going to take a while. So
it's kind of sad when you look at the canopy.
Oh yeah,
because the pine, I noticed in the Sardi's quite a bit. There's a lot of sick pine, and you see those gaps in the forest, and the ash, and accumulation of it all. There's a lot of spots in the woods where you could see like unhealthy marks. Yeah, it's pretty. It's a little bit intimidating, to be honest.
Yeah. When the foliage is fully out and you look at the ridge, let's say from Small World Avenue, and you see all those voids and all those dead trees and pines.
Yep. Yeah, I noticed it up there as well on the ridge at Canton.
And it's a large chunk of land. I get it. For us, it's dangerous because we're in there working. So with the hard hats or helmets and. But it doesn't take much, and that's especially at night, right? When I'm just operating off a headlamp and the tractor lights, and if you got to be careful, right? The branches are maybe not falling down, but something fell down. If you're not paying attention, you'll catch it with a tire, and there's a lot going on in there. And like I said, as far as the animal population, we got some bears, some deer. We had a pretty good clip of coyotes for a while, but we haven't seen them. And we see the tracks, but now that they have the solar field in the back with the fence, they seem to be staying right on the perimeter of that. So a lot of rabbits, tremendous number of fox. But, it's country.
What do you get for birds? You must have hawks all over the place.
Yeah, hawks, and we do have quite a few eagles, believe it or not. They come back out. I mean,
Is there a little bit of water by you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We have the small creek in the back where the pond is.
Okay.
So our property borders the O&W rail trail.
Yep.
And just, I want to say maybe a half a mile past our property line, there's a big beaver pond back there, large, and it's large enough and clear enough where the birds can come.
Eagles hang out there.
Plus, we're right next to the Esopus Creek.
We are at the top of the hour, and listeners and viewers, you've been listening for the last half hour to Maple Syrup Czar Tinty, and maybe next
flamboyant sugar maker,
and maybe the next half hour we'll hear from Chief Tinty. We'll be back in a few.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy, and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter. Yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
There was this one time I went snorkeling in the Caribbean when I was a kid. It really just blew my mind. We saw the most beautiful corals. I remember thinking they were waving at us as they moved with the ocean. And then there were all these amazing fish. I'll never forget it. It completely changed the way I look at the ocean.
Most of us have a memory of being in nature we'll never forget. Let's protect the world's natural places so more memories can be made for generations to come. Visit worldwildlife.org.
This is the story of Daniel, who was born 2 months early. His lungs weren't ready. His heart wasn't ready. His parents could only hope that one day he would leave the hospital healthy, and they would all live happily ever after. Daniel's is just one of the more than 500,000 stories of babies born prematurely last year. You can help the March of Dimes stop premature birth and bring more babies home healthy. Learn how at marchofdimes.com. Working together for stronger, healthier babies.
Everyone is talking about healthcare these days. America spends twice that of other developed countries on our healthcare system, yet our health ranks near the bottom. How can we stop spending so much and getting so little? By shifting to a system that gives more patients access to strong primary care. Primary care can help make America healthy again. To learn more about the benefits of primary care, visit www.healthisprimary.org. This message is brought to you by America's Family Physicians.
Question: what will you find on all over-the-counter or OTC medicine packages to help you choose the right drug and use it safely? The answer? The Drug Facts label. This label lists the medicine's active ingredients and purpose, how much to take, and warnings you should know before using it. Remember, even OTC medicines you buy without a prescription can cause side effects you don't want. So follow the information listed on the Drug Facts label. For more information, visit fda.gov/Drug Facts label. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Hi, this is Winnie from the Rosendale Seniors, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
A powerful community bank is one that has leaders that are involved in their community. At Rondout Savings Bank, they invest in the success of our community by working side by side with local people and local businesses. When you choose to bank Rondout, you are part of a bank that is dedicated to the future of your success and the success of your community. Rondout Savings welcomes you to open an account today and discover what it means to be part of a powerful community bank, one that knows you by name. Rondout Savings Bank, always working for you and our community, with branches in Kingston, West Hurley, and Hyde Park, also online at rondoutbank.com. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Okay, we're back. Just a real quick announcement. I just got a great phone call from Bob Circusano. He said for the KCR breakfast on the 29th, for every breakfast bought, he will match the money that's made and donate the money to Kingston Community Radio. So I was like, Bob, we already got like about 40 or 50 people coming. He's like, great. That means you got $500 a donation for KCR.
Wow.
I tell you, every time this guy, he surprises me every time. So thank you to Bob Circusano and Sawyer Motors and his foundation.
Well, and I hope he's going to make the breakfast.
Oh, no, he is. Him and Michelle are both coming. While you were gone, his wife made a very generous donation to KCR, like a huge one. And I wrote her a nice letter and thanked her. And, then my mother had helped out with the family. Remember the thing that he was doing?
Yeah.
So they were on the phone talking, and we invited him and his wife to the breakfast. And, I'm sure he'll be there that day.
I'm not talking to KCR breakfast. I'm talking this one next week.
The Elks.
Or that week from Tuesday.
Yeah, that's the KCR breakfast. KCR Elks, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, you're combining it.
Well, yeah, we're broadcasting live there that morning. It's together.
Okay, so it's not the one you normally have at Spring Lake.
No, we don't do that one. We haven't had that one in like 3 or 4 years. Jared moved to Florida.
Okay.
So I don't really have a contact there anymore.
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. No, this one is at Elks Lodge.
I was away for a month, a little slow.
Yeah. No, it's
a little
slow.
slow.
Yes, so March 29th, Elks Lodge, KCR breakfast at the Elks Lodge. Thank you, Bob. Awesome.
Congratulations, Bob. He's just back.
Yeah, I
from
mean,
Las
he
Vegas.
is the most generous person.
Yeah, he's doing.
Besides the four of you, of course.
He just got back from Vegas. He was celebrating because he was nominated for the dealership of the year by Time Magazine.
Wow.
Yeah, just got back.
That's the second year in a row, wasn't it?
I don't know if a second.
He's an amazing person.
Well, it's the second time anyway.
He needs to call in.
Yeah.
Get the shit. I'm sure they share a lot of Facebook posts about how they were doing out there, and it looked like him and Larry had a really good time, and well deserved.
Yeah,
they do
absolutely.
so much for so many organizations. So
how come you didn't pull birthdays out? You want me to do that also?
Dude,
I don't think there are any.
We don't have any.
We didn't have any yesterday either.
So
Apparently March is a good birthday
Cowpie.
month, my mom said.
So listeners, but I've got several I'm going to be sending the next couple of weeks.
All right,
then.
get us back on
So
track.
listeners and viewers, 331-9255 is our call-in number. We now have Police Chief Tinty, not the maple syrup czar, and his Deputy Chief
That's
Mike
right.
Bonds.
Police work this time. We're talking about police work.
And Mike came in just as we were wrapping up and going to break because you didn't want to hear all of that, right?
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to add when it comes to the maple world.
I'm sure we got a lot of good stuff going on in the police department and in the city here.
Yeah, we've actually start of this year's been off to a good start for us, so to speak. We've hired a bunch of new people.
Good.
And if you're at all familiar with Kingston Police and you've worked with our folks, you're going to see a lot of new faces that you haven't seen. We joke around sometimes that there's so many new people. If somebody goes away on vacation for a month and you come back, you may see a handful of faces you haven't seen in a while. We just had a member that was out sick for a little while, just came back, and he said, I saw new faces coming in. I didn't even know who to buzz the door to, like that they actually worked here or not. And I think we've had, in the last year and a half, probably around 18 or 20 new hires. Which, for an agency of 74, that's very significant.
It's a third. That's a lot.
Almost half the patrol division. Almost half of our patrol division has got about 2 years on the job. That's amazing.
So a big turnover.
Well, a lot of retirements.
Yep.
The mayor and the council approved for 3 additional positions, bringing us up to 74 budgeted. But with that brings challenges, right? And I'll use it to segue. Mike Bonds, the deputy chief, came up with a great idea for recruitment and retention. I know you specialize that. One of the things you talked about in your master's program, right? So I'll turn it over to you, right?
Yeah,
A little quick discussion on it.
It's something we've been focusing on for the last year or so. Recruitment and retention, in every industry right now, right? We're all familiar with that, and particularly in policing and particularly in local policing, right? The numbers, we need to start hiring more people. We need to start attracting more people. We need to start diversifying the workforce. We need to start pulling potential candidates out of communities that we haven't in the past. We really need to find new ways to get more people involved, and the recruitment efforts have been steady. One of the things we're finding is that to recruit young folks into the industry, we need to lean on our young folks in the industry, right? If the chief and I show up at an event and talk to potential candidates, we can certainly answer a lot of questions, and we can certainly explain the job and explain the expectations. But they're not going to relate to us the way they'll relate to people of their own age bracket. So we're really going to, with this new influx of young officers we just hired, we're going to lean back on them to recruit more people. That word of mouth we found is definitely a powerful thing. The old ways of recruiting are not, necessarily as effective as they once were. So we have to change. And that's, I actually met with all the young officers and asked each of you to find at least one person that you know that you want to come work here with you. You're going to spend the next 20 to 30 years working for the city of Kingston in this department. Find people you want to work with and recruit them to come work with us. Build the workforce with people that you think will be a good fit and that you want to spend the rest of your career with. We have time left, but we're on the tail end of our careers, so we need the folks that are going to be here for a long time to bring in the right group of people to work with moving forward.
That's a very good approach. It's quite a unique approach.
The expression is, show me who your friends are, and I'll show you who you are, right?
Yeah.
So we're kind of using that in reverse to say, hey, you're hired here, you went through a pretty stringent background investigation, you're doing well, please, if you have somebody who's interested, bring them aboard, right? At least have them take the exam, right? There's certain processes, and we've talked about it before, the testing, the physical, and so tonight we have a police commission meeting. We're going to be discussing it in a little bit more detail, but essentially Mike has come up with a prep academy that will prepare people for the police exam. And there's a bunch of things that we hope to do. We'll be releasing a lot more detail of it afterwards, but he came up with it, talked to the lieutenants. I've met with the staff on it. We're encouraging participation now from, I say the rank and file, but like you said, the new recruits, right? The new candidates, rather, the new officers. So it's a big plus. And the advantage, I think, that the deputy chief has now is that he's still doing the academy, which is a tremendous amount of work. I gave it up. I couldn't do it anymore, right? He took it. It was just so much work, and he's still plugging away at it. I give you a lot of kudos, brother. That's a lot. But, that in and of itself draws a lot of attention. I can't tell you how many times during interviews people have said, when we ask them, why do you want to work for Kingston? And they'll say, I had
instructors that we had at the academy, right? That's and I think I did a look back just to get an idea how many of our students were, being hired and sent to the academy versus how many had taken advantage of the pre-employment program through SUNY Ulster and put themselves through the academy. And I believe off the top of my head, out of the last 27 hires, 21 of them were pre-employment students that had put themselves through the police academy, got the training, and then, got on the list and got reachable.
That's I'm a little surprised by that, but that shows commitment and initiative, and they're making that decision soberly. They're not saying, I think it'd be fun to be a cop.
Yeah, no,
and finding out different.
They're paying their way through the academy, right? It's a college credit program. It's a great program, but they're taking that step. They're showing they're committed to this industry, and without the promise of a job, they're still doing it. So it really does show a lot about the character of the people that we're enrolling in it.
Wow.
We in Kingston, we give them preference when they come in for interviews because it's a savings for us, right? Salary savings, cost savings for tuition and equipment. So we encourage it as well. There's agencies in Ulster County, I think almost every other agency that does part-time officers that can take advantage of that without having to go through the proper the same civil service guidelines we do. But it's a challenge. I'll be the first to admit it, and I've said to Mike before, I'm just built different. I say maybe generationally. I just don't approach people. If they want something, they should be looking for it. They should be working towards it. That's the way I was. If I saw it, but that doesn't exist anymore. Today, because of, and you said this at the community meeting the other night, we're all fighting for the same pool of candidates, right? Town of Ulster, Town of Saugerty, City of Kingston, State Police, Sheriff's Office. We are all looking for a good cop. And that means, not just a good person, a good cop. It takes a lot. With everything that law enforcement has been through in the last couple of years, some of it absolutely had to change. We recognize that, right? The accountability aspect of it and the public interactions. But on the recruitment level, as you pointed out, right, you said academy enrollment dropped for
significantly. We run 2 police academies a year. There's a part-time academy in the first half of the year that's typically the first Saturday in January through about early July. That's 24 hours a week. It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights from 6 to 10 p.m., and Saturdays from 9 to 5 during the day. It's designed that if you have another career and this is a career you want to get into, you can still attend the academy and have other things going on in your life. And then we have a full-time academy in the fall, which is, your typical Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and, really, that was the industry standard for years and years, right? You get hired, you get sent to the police academy, and so we offer both offerings. And generally, our spring academy, we see between 35 and 40 students at the start of the academy. Of course, we lose some through attrition. And then the fall academy, what we're usually looking at is around 25 students. This current spring academy, we only have 15 students in there, less than half what we typically see. So that's certainly raising some concern about the number of people coming into the industry. So we're aside from Kingston Police, what we're doing in our recruiting efforts, I'm working on a committee with the Ulster County Chiefs Association, Chief Shafrick from Rosendale Police, Professor Truitt and Professor Gasparini from SUNY Ulster Criminal Justice, and I know Captain Filak from Saugerties is going to be joining us, and I believe Lieutenant Fulford from the Sheriff's Office.
So you got a nice compliment.
Yeah, we're doing we just started our first committee meeting last week or the week before, and we're working on recruitment and retention as a county as a whole, because we all recognize, like the chief said, we're all fishing from the same pool, right?
Yeah. When I was a young person taking classes at Ulster, one of the professors there talked about the labor crisis that's going to hit our country. And it seemed like, when I was graduating, there was no opportunities. You couldn't get hired at CSX, you couldn't get hired at Central Hudson. All those legacy jobs were completely out of reach for us. And but now that we are where we are and having the position that I hold and seeing the recruitment challenges in law enforcement, in EMS, in water and sewer, and even at the highway department, I'm blown away. There was a point in what he was saying, as the legacy employees are leaving, the opportunity to fill them and fill them with quality is really a challenge. And that's in the industry, that's a problem right now as well. So for young folks, there's abundant opportunity to land nice jobs, have good careers.
And you talk about the quality of the candidate. So in the past, there weren't mechanisms, right? We started polygraph when I became chief, a little bit before I became chief. That is a tool, right? We do psychological testing. We've always done, since I was hired in 92, we did psychological testing. But not every agency does. So now it's a requirement, right? So as of October of last year, it's a requirement. But that brings challenges, because before you could say, wow, he's a good kid. Jid, this guy's a good kid. He's going to do great. You love him when he comes in. Great. And they look absolutely, like, shake hands. You come in. This is great. We're going to. And then they get something in a psych exam that the psychiatrist goes, let's talk about that, And then next thing you know, you get a report that says, not fit for duty.
Yeah.
Right? May have had something occur at their younger years, or in some cases, the polygraph. And we tell them, I know you tell them, you're going to take a polygraph, you're going to fill out this booklet, these questions will be asked of you under examination. If you lie, you're disqualified. If you don't lie and you admit to a crime, you're going to be looked at by the district attorney's office. So we have people that you got to look at that, right? So, part of the challenges we have.
The way you put it, that's
why I chuckle. And only because sometimes we're like, oh, this guy's a good guy. And then all of a sudden the examiner will call and say, hey,
we need to talk.
And they're like, what are you talking about? No. You're just playing me. Come on, there's no way. He's like, oh yeah, you gotta turn.
So with technology, the way it's advanced, the degree of accuracy of a polygraph, I imagine, is close to 100%.
When it's specific, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the percentage on it, but typically the polygraph will open up things that need further investigation, right? It in and of itself is not the be-all, end-all about truth-telling or about backgrounds, but things get brought to light in the polygraph that oftentimes need further investigation. And one of and I'm no polygrapher, I'll preface it by saying that, just having worked with them,
Prolificer. That's what a person that's about. Okay. Wow.
I don't want to say polygraph examiner, but I learned it too.
So have I. I never heard that word before.
Me neither. I'm not playing Mike and Scrabble.
But one of the big differences, when you hear typically of people using polygraph, they're using it in the criminal sense to find out the truth or seek truth or information about a very specific act, right? Did this burglary occur? Were you at this place at this time and date? So that's a very pointed examination, whereas when you're looking at using it for background investigations, you're asking the person questions about the entirety of their life and about that large, span of time. So if you're asking about a specific crime that was committed or had somebody been involved in a certain act or something that raised question, it's not as clear to say, you're not specifically asking them, hey, on March 15th, were you at this location? Did you do this thing? You're asking somebody to think back on 20 to 30 years of their life, or hopefully less. Hopefully we're looking at their adulthood and not things that happened as a child. But oftentimes I find the candidates have a hard time separating that as well, right? If we're asking, since you've been 18, have you done any of these things? Or, since you've been an adult, have you done any of these things? And if the person in their mind thinks about something that they did that they wish they hadn't, that happened maybe at 14, 15, 16 years old, that's still going to cause a response in them. Right, they know that they may have committed that act, but in furtherance and investigating into it, we can find that that's something that happened when you were a 15, 16-year-old kid.
Juvenile.
That doesn't count, right? You're still clean in our eyes with regard to the background investigation, but it may cause them to have a reaction to the polygraph.
And even if they admit to something, drug use, right? I'll say common. It's not common, but when that happens, someone will say, "Have you used drug as an adult? When's the last time you used illegal drugs?" Have you used illegal drugs? Yes. And the person's now 27 years old and in college at 21, right? Clearly, if they haven't used in a recent sense, then we're good, right? And again, the level and the type and whether they got involved in sales, right? There's different things. But the questions are, they cover all topics, right? They cover drug use, illegal drug use. They cover domestic violence, assault. They cover everything, really. Terrorism,
driving habits, car accidents, drinking and driving, and use of alcohol in public.
Right, and the psychological component now, which is the polygraph isn't a requirement. We use it as a tool because under the scrutiny that police are under, and specifically the Kingston police over the years, we don't take any chances anymore, honestly. And I know there's agencies that don't look at it or I'm telling you, as a chief, I can tell you, no way, no how would I ever hire somebody without having them go through the polygraph. I'd rather have them tell me they did something wrong and be truthful than lie to me, because that small little bit could be a problem that you don't find until later on, right?
Until they're on the street.
Yeah, and then now what do you got?
Yeah.
Now you got a union employee that you've got to get off the books, and the person's carrying a gun and has the power of use of force. Listen, I don't sleep well at night. I don't sleep well at night sometimes now.
Why would you not, especially in law enforcement, why would you not use every resource tool
it's just
available
cost,
to you?
The polygraph examiner is between $350 and $400 every time you have a candidate. So there's a cost involved in it. And here's the issue sometimes that comes out there. People will say, "Oh, Chief, did you hear about this cop who works in wherever, blah, blah, blah." And I'll say, "Okay, hold on, part-time? Is he a part-time police officer? What state are we talking about?" Right? Because states have different training regiments and requirements, and how often do they work? Right? If it's a part-time officer working 8 hours a month, their level of interaction and training is going to be substantially less. They may still have the requirement of completing the academy, but the application of what they've learned isn't going to take place as frequent as you have a full-time police officer. Right. And I know there's challenges. I say I know. I try to understand the challenges of running an agency that has part-timers. I've never worked for any other agency. I've always worked for Kingston, so I only know full-time employment and administering of full-time employees. But I imagine it in and of itself, it's got its challenges. And I got to tell you, I know there's people out there, administrators, that say, well, there's a certain segment of the public that, we're trying to get increase diversity, applications from different economic groups, and okay. But at the end of the day, none of that comes out in the headlines of the Freeman or the New York Times when a police officer commits something egregious, right?
Of course not.
When it happened with George Floyd, absolutely 100%, we said from the beginning, you can't act like that.
Right.
We don't know the circumstances, but that's unacceptable behavior. But you can't paint the police departments in New York State by that same standard, right?
And that's unfortunately what happened.
Yes.
It painted police departments across the nation, across the country.
So when something happens in New York, in the town of whatever, and people say, oh, did you hear another cop? And I go, whoa. Full-time, part-time. What level of background did they have? Is it a guy who was hired 30 years ago as a good old boys club at a bar when the chief said, I'm going to give you a gun and a badge? Because back then, that's the way things used to be.
Sure.
All right? So there's a lot of factors. But at the end of the day, as we point out, the picture in the paper is just a man or a woman in uniform. People don't know the difference. We have the questions because we know the background.
Right.
But, and again, I feel bad for the Dep. He has heard me scream and shout about this. Why is this not one single standard at the state? They're moving towards it, but why isn't there one single standard in the state for it? You want to be a cop? This is what you got to be.
And when we have the first Wednesday, when Berardi's here and Figueroa's here and Sinagra's here and boy, I can't think of the captain's name. Jeez, they all say the same thing. Yeah. And there should be a standard, because if there is a bad individual that does not have either the qualifications for a police officer or has done something that would void them from becoming a police officer in the city of Kingston, in Ulster County, and then goes to Plattsburgh or Lake Placid, and they don't have that kind of requirement, he walks in and then if something does happen, as you pointed out,
painted with the same brush.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate.
We're really fortunate locally, all of the local agencies, top-notch training,
Absolutely.
top-notch supervision. We're very fortunate in Ulster County. I do believe that. And as fortunate as we are and as good as we all are, and amongst agencies, we all know who works for who, by name, by face, by patch, by uniform. A lot of the public doesn't necessarily know even what agency that if a police officer pulls them over, they see the flashing lights. They don't see the patch on the side of the car.
Yeah.
They see the side of the silhouette of the officer in uniform. They may not see the patch. They may not see the badge. They're certainly not reading it. And oftentimes, we get complaints about maybe a traffic stop that happened or an interaction or sometimes even compliments. The other day we were at a community meeting and they were complimenting the way an officer handled something, and we were like, yeah, that's fantastic.
All right.
It turned out it was the town of Ulster.
They're all like, yeah, but
we trained them.
It's close, yeah.
But that's the kind of stuff that happens, right?
Point.
So, about that professionalism and about the fact that the expectation of police is the same. You drive in and around the city of Kingston, and the potential is that you could have an interaction with a cop from 4 or 5 different police agencies that are all right here.
Sure.
And a large number of the public may not even know which agency they dealt with. So we really have to hold each other to that same high standard as well.
And you 100%. And we do that in Ulster County. Most of the Hudson Valley, really. Honestly, I can say that without knowing every agency. There is a standard. And I'd like to believe most of the state. But just the fact that now they've required the use of a psychological exam as of October last year, when accredited agencies were required to do it forever.
1990, right?
Yes, it's
Accreditation
1990,
started in
right.
1990.
So I just don't understand why the state doesn't come out with that one particular standard. Like, everybody's got to be polygraphed. Everybody's got to be psychological. Everybody has to have whatever, and there's some standards, but not all the standards. We're all judged by the uniform and the appearance and the conduct. But we don't start off the same. It's not right.
No, it's not. No.
So it's, and again, maybe we have a different view of it because we have been involved in academy level training, and we have tried to bring the best training, even sometimes at a fight. As an administrator, when the academy director says, hey, we're going to put an extra week on here because we believe that we're going to add three more days of professional policing and possible procedural justice. And I go, whoa, another week? I need the guy back. What are you doing? That's not a required course. No. Right? How many times radar and breathalyzer are not requirements in the police academy, per se, right? They're add-ons. You don't have to have those certifications to be certified as a police officer.
So then you can't administer a breathalyzer.
Correct. There was the standardized field sobriety is part of it, but BAO, running the data master that we have, is not a requirement as an academy requirement.
Okay.
All right? So because
But
there's
it is-
agent.
But it is in the city of Kingston, for you guys.
We put all of our folks
We
through
do.
it.
We do.
As an internal mandate, yes.
And most
radar,
agencies
VA,
in
all
Ulster County do. So I think that's part of it is when Mike says to the chiefs, we're adding a week, they all say, excellent, good job. But I know in the past, there were fights where the chief goes, I don't want my guy going through that. I want him back to work with me. I need him on the street. We don't do radar. It's true. Different. Oh, yeah.
Well, we were just about at the bottom of the hour. That half hour flew by. The whole hour flew by. It was
Flamboyant.
It was flamboyant. It was flamboyant.
Maple
You see
Czar.
me during the parade.
Yeah.
Maple Czar.
Successful parade, though.
It was great.
It was great. It
was
felt so
nice
good to be
go
back. Yeah.
It was I got to tell you the one thing, community support. I can't tell you, right, Mike? We were there, and people were just like, "We love you." And,
Yeah.
I
That's
kept pointing at
happened
him.
for
They kept pointing at him,
Not at you.
I kept nudging in front of the finger every so often. So.
You or Pat Bono or right?
That's
right?
right.
Not at him.
Get out of the way!
Deputy Chief Mike Bonds, thank you very, very much for joining us. And Chief Tinty, thank
sir.
you,
Thank you for having me.
very, very much. And look forward to next month.
Sounds good.
And actually,
Elks breakfast. We'll be
the
at the
Elks
Elks
breakfast.
breakfast.
Yes.
2 weeks from yesterday.
Fantastic. See you then.
All righty. We'll be back in a few.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Grammer. Wounded Warrior Project supports injured veterans by connecting them with fellow warriors, by serving them through mental health and wellness programs, and by empowering them to live on their own terms. No one should face a battle alone. Join us at woundedwarriorproject.org.
We are Lions. We bring hope where it's needed, support causes that matter, change lives, change communities, change the world. Visit lionsclubs.org to learn more.
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're fighting against childhood cancer every day. At the heart of this battle are our donors.
Most of us want to make some type of difference in the lives of others. St. Jude does miraculous work.
The fact that no one has to pay, it's a place where everyone is treated as an equal.
Everybody is welcome here, and it doesn't matter your religion or what part of the world you're from, all that is taken away. It just gives you some hope.
It's just a nice feeling to put your energy into something that really does genuinely make a difference in a child's life.
There's just no greater gift. If we have the ability to help, then we have a responsibility to help.
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Find out how you can help at stjude.org.
To battle is to fight, to struggle, to overcome, and ultimately for the Marine Corps, it means to win. There is no alternative. It's not just a statement of intent. It's a promise to our nation. A promise kept for more than 2 centuries. A promise of the Marines.
Introducing the YMCA. Sure, you know the Y for a swim or a game of hoops, but we're more than that. We're a cause. When you take a jump shot at the Y, someone else is getting job training. Practice yoga as a team practices her leadership skills. We give people of all ages, incomes, and backgrounds a chance to learn, grow, and thrive. So while you might think of the Y as the place for lifting weights, we're also about lifting entire communities. That's the Y. We're so much more. Visit ymca.net/more.
Hi, my name is Jackie Levezzo. I'm from Lake Katrine, and I support Kingston Community Radio because it is an invaluable resource to the community and its residents.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
Thank you, Lawrence, and welcome back, viewers and listeners who have been with us. Those just joining us for our last half hour, 331-9255 is our call-in number, and we would love to hear from you because we have got our state assemblywoman.
No,
she's a senator.
Senator, excuse me.
It has been a long time.
Background.
Yeah,
we got you today.
Let's see, is that my third strike? So that's my third.
No, it's your second.
Oh, wait a minute,
It's
that's
your
my
second.
third strike. I'm out, so I have to. I'm done.
You're
I'm
off
done.
to breakfast.
Senator Hinchy, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
I don't know. How you doing? I'm doing great. Thank you.
It's one of those days, Greg. It's one of those days.
Yeah.
So what's new and exciting?
Ooh, well, we've been busy. We're in the moment of budget. So the executive proposed her budget, and we actually just, in the Senate and the Assembly, we just submitted our one-house budget. So that is now out. We voted that on Monday, and now we go into negotiations with the executive to get to our final state budget due on April 1st.
I saw the state budget actually yesterday, and thank you.
It's a good one. Of course, this is just a resolution. It's what we're putting forward as what we would want the budget to be. And now we have to go into negotiations, and so we expect it to change. Of course, a decent amount. Ours doesn't match the Assembly exactly either. So there's a lot to talk about, but we're really proud, I think, from where we're starting from. And I have to give credit to the governor. For the first time, we were starting with an executive budget that wasn't just cuts across the board. We were starting with some real investments, especially in our healthcare workers, starting with real investments in our fight against the climate crisis for small businesses. And so we are starting from a much better place than we have typically, but we of course think ours reflects what the community needs a bit better.
Good. That sounds like a good start. I imagine this is a lot of pressure this time of year.
It's busy, because there's a lot of really important agencies, important organizations that get funded through the state budget, right? And everyone is vying for their portion, right? Especially in a moment where we actually have a good amount of revenue coming in from some of the revenue raisers we did last year, from the gambling and casino licenses that we, and online gambling that we legalized last year, along with a lot of other things, and then of course the federal money that we've got through the pandemic. So we have a good amount of money to work with, but of course everybody is looking for their funding because they've spent 10 years, 20 years really with cuts, right? With kind of working in really on shoestring budgets because we've always come from a place of austerity. So wanting to make sure that we're doing the right things, that we're bringing up, we can't do everything overnight. So, that's an important thing to remember and to recognize, but wanting to start to course correct here while also recognizing we are coming out of a once-in-a-generation pandemic. We've seen where the holes are, where the gaps are, where communities have been totally left behind, and wanting to make sure that our budget reflects helping people at all levels. Because this is a moment, I think we have a really unique moment to be able to do that.
So I don't know why, I don't mean to interrupt your train of thought, but at the first half hour there was a discussion about a reinstitution of a mask mandate. Maybe you have information that would clear that up for us.
Sure, I'm sorry, what about the mask mandate?
Was there a reinstitution of the mask mandate?
I don't know why I'm having a hard time hearing that, but there was...
No, what Fred is saying, was there a reinstitution of the mask mandate by Governor Hochul yesterday?
No.
Okay.
There was not.
Yeah, good. I'm glad we cleared that up because I didn't want to cause confusion for our listeners. But that was a conversation that there was some someone had reported that there was, and I was like,
And-
none of us were aware of it. So.
Right, and actually what sparked it was, I believe it was I'm getting feedback here, a news blurb or a news clip stemming from last night where Governor Hochul dropped the puck at the Rangers game and got booed.
Yes, I did hear that. But, she is from Buffalo, so.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're Sabres. Sabres been a good rivalry for many, many years.
Okay, so that was just a false,
Good.
somebody
Yeah.
started a false news blurb, a false rumor, or whether. Good, thank you for clearing that up. I'm glad you asked that, because that kind of slipped my mind, because I was baffled when Lawrence had showed that to me this morning.
Yeah, I was taken a little bit by surprise, too, so, yeah, good.
Yeah, I would think that would be exactly what you said. That is some false information. There is not, at least that we know, but we have not heard anything. There is not another mask mandate. Our numbers are, knock on wood, really good. They're low. Everything has been kind of moving forward, and there's not any talk at this moment of putting back some sort of mask mandate.
Yeah, and after Lawrence had mentioned it, while we were in our first half hour, I was just looking at some of the, the Fox and CNN and some of the local news spectrum, and, couldn't find a thing about it. And if she had done that, that would have been top story.
Yes. Yeah. And I know she does not want to. The only reason she would is if the numbers were there, right? And if the data showed that, which it does not. So there's not really a need to go back to that. And nobody's excited about wearing masks, right? We all want to kind of move forward from where we are. So that's definitely not something that has happened, nor something that we've even heard talked about as a possibility anytime soon.
Good.
Good to know. Good to clear that up.
Yeah.
We don't want anybody leaving with a bad impression. So.
No, thanks for asking.
Yeah. So I think another thing notable going back to the state budget, like there was initiatives that garnered statewide attention for the past couple of years, marijuana legalization, some of the online gaming, and these real big initiatives. There's not that type of defining initiative this year. I don't sense.
No, and those were things that my colleagues and so many others had been working on for decades, especially the MRTA and the legalization of cannabis. And so those were bills that had been in the works for a really long time. One of the things that we're really focused on in this budget is really kitchen table issues, right? And trying to address the challenges that people are facing right now today. For an example, we know that prices at the gas pump have skyrocketed, right? While at the same time, the cost of a gallon of gasoline has actually gone down. So this is corporate price gouging, effectively, is kind of what we're seeing. And the only way to fix that really is at the federal level. However, what we've proposed in our Senate One House, on our side of the budget, we've proposed a gas tax holiday, removing the sales tax from the price of gas for the remainder of the year. It would be, if moved forward, if accepted in negotiations, it would remove the sales tax, it's about 13 cents, from May 1st to the end of the year, which would be real savings. I think it's about $600 million real savings immediately, right? So those are the kinds of things we know people are hurting right now. Inflation prices, gas prices, things are skyrocketing, especially around our community. Home prices skyrocketing, rents increasing. People are facing a lot of pressure right now, and there's a lot of factors for that. One of them, of course, being Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But so there's only so many things we can control at the state level. But we're trying to do as much as we can, and so that's one of them. I think, and we're really hopeful that the rest of the Assembly and the governor will accept that and be able to push it forward. We also extended property tax rebates through the STAR program, which totals to be about $2.2 billion, which would have people receive a rebate check by October 31st of this year. And another thing we did, too, is accelerating the middle-class tax cuts. They are supposed to take effect in 2025. We've accelerated them to now take effect in 2023. So we're looking for real, tangible things right now that's going to put money back in people's pockets in this budget specifically.
So it's a bigger conversation, but at least two of the incentives that you've touched on point to the aggressive nature of sales taxes and property taxes and the fees that impact moderate to lower income families at a disproportionate rate to folks who are in better financial situations.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we know that if you were doing well, if you're an upper middle class family, you were fine. You did okay during this pandemic. In fact, you probably made some money. However, those who are more economically disadvantaged and middle-class families were really hurting. Those are the ones with all these increases are the ones who are really taking it on the chin. So while last year we kind of focused on big sweeping initiatives that had been stalled for a long time that we knew once we passed would bring in a lot of state revenue, like the MRTA, like online gambling, and we've seen the revenue that we've gotten from online gambling completely be significantly over what we had anticipated. Incredibly popular. I'm sure lots of people listening, especially during the NFL season, were participating in the online gambling. I know many of my friends were. We saw significant revenues from that. This year, what we're focused on is really trying to help people who have felt the brunt, who bear the brunt of the economic crisis that we're facing.
Perfect. It's a little bit of a surprise even in Albany how much revenue is coming from online gaming.
Absolutely. It looks like we've already, if I am correct, which I think I am, we've already surpassed New Jersey in the short period of time that we've had online gaming. And part of that could be that it's new. Right, anything new, people are excited to try, and maybe it'll level out, kind of decrease and level out in a more stable place moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been, for lack of a better word, it's really been gangbusters.
Wow.
For the state. And again, the revenues that have been coming in have been significantly higher than the projections have anticipated.
And the online gambling only took effect just before the NFL season started, right? So it was the last quarter of the year. So it's not even you have to factor in now. You've got 3 other quarters of revenue. Mm-hmm. What's that picture going to look like when we're talking about this time next year?
Right, exactly. And we're about to head into March Madness. So I think we had the Super Bowl, which was huge, right? And now we're heading into March Madness.
Yep.
So I think that we'll see there too what happens there and how many people are participating. But we've seen, we've seen really high increased revenues from it, which is great. That's exactly one of the reasons why we did it, right? It brings in, people like it. I've actually had a lot of thank yous. I'll have a quick story. I was at the Verizon in Saugerties. I was eligible for a new phone, and so I went to trade mine in. I had an 8 Plus. So for anyone who knows iPhones, it was due time. We're on 13 now. So it was due for a new one, and I was at the Verizon in Saugerties, and it was taking a little bit longer, and we were talking about our mutual work, and someone asked if I had anything to do with legalizing online gambling. I said yes, and they were thanking me, because it's really, people really enjoy it. It's fun. People, instead of having now to drive to different casinos, have to drive to New Jersey. If they want to do something, you can do it here, right? You can go to Mirabella and place a really low bet with your friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
And kind of be more engaged in the game. So we've seen lots of people who are really excited about that proposal. And I think it's really paying dividends for what we can do now looking at this budget.
I sense there will be a windfall from the cannabis once that's up and running as well.
Absolutely.
And
and we're moving forward on that really quickly. License, the first rounds of regulations just came out from OCM. We should have licenses by the end of the year. And the cultivator licenses the portal just opened and just came out. So people will be, farmers and hemp farmers will be able to put seeds in the ground to start growing here in New York this month.
Oh, that's a big step forward. So the folks that were doing hemp recently can now transition over or is there an additional permitting process associated with that?
Yep. So we know that there's going to be high demand, and the point of the MRT, one of the points of the MRTA is to be a really New York-centric business. And so one of the key components of that is making sure we have New York-grown product. And because we want to because OCM is really moving forward to get this up and running, we were delayed with the appointment of the board members from the previous governor. He's delayed sending us appointments, so we were slow in starting the process, and we're trying to make up for that now. OCM, the Office of Cannabis Management, is OCM. They're trying to make up for it now, so they're moving really quickly, and we want to make sure there's licenses out and this business can get started by the end of the year. So the quickest way to be able to get New York product, to grow New York product, was to give provisional licenses to New York hemp growers. Hemp is kind of the base, product of cannabis. It's the plant. It's the flower. So we thought that, and we knew that it'd be easiest for hemp growers who already know how to grow hemp to transition over into cannabis most quickly. So we passed legislation. It was actually my legislation that we passed just a couple weeks ago that allowed hemp farmers to now apply for provisional licenses. There will be many more growing licenses needed, but this was just the first start. And one important component, because of course a core component of the MRTA overall was social equity, and making sure that specifically people who have been negatively impacted by the war on drugs, specifically cannabis, we can start to right some of those wrongs, right, and kind of get people back into, get people into the industry, create stable livings, because now this is legal. And so we also want to diversify agriculture, right? Most of our hemp farmers are white. So with creating this provisional license for hemp farmers, we've also created with it, if you were going to get a provisional license, you have to participate in a mentorship program and then mentor a farmer of color to learn how to basically cultivate and grow cannabis, and so then they themselves can go apply for the licenses when that opens up next year.
I think at some level, in my exposure, and certainly it's limited, the efforts for social justice in the MRT are pretty extraordinary.
Yes, they definitely are. I mean, that was one of the main drivers, both for Senator Kruger, who was the sponsor in our House in the Senate, and for Assembly Member People Stokes, Majority Leader People Stokes in the Assembly. Both of them were approaching this from, yes, it's high time we legalize cannabis, but also we need to if we're going to do this, we have to do it right, and we have to make sure that we have the social equity component, and that is that those values are what's driving the industry, not just wanting, big corporate entities to come in and kind of continue to enrich themselves in the way we've seen in Massachusetts and Colorado, but really making it a New York-centric small business, right? A New York-centric small business sector that really drives support for communities that have been otherwise and historically left behind.
Mm-hmm. You made a pun because you said high times, and we're talking about cannabis. That was pretty funny.
Very good. I didn't pick up on that.
I'm the funniest when I'm not trying.
Yeah, me too. But it's gonna be, and I already see evidence of the investment that's going into creating open market grow opportunities for cannabis. I mean, unfortunately for now, a significant amount of the supply is rooted in the legacy markets, which is outside of the law. So, the quicker we can make the investments that are needed to bring it into the real market, it's better for all of us. It's better for law enforcement. It's better, and that's where those economic benefits will be realized in the communities that host them. So that trend is happening quickly, and I think that's where we're going to see the benefits of jobs, the benefits of investment opportunities, and all the aspirations that are identified in it.
That's exactly right. There's a ton of opportunity here. Everywhere if I'm being honest, really everywhere we travel, people are asking, when are the regulations coming out? When can we get, when will product be available? When will we know, we've got this idea for a business, or we've organized this group, or I'm a veteran, right? I'm a social equity applicant, and I want to be involved. Where do we go? So if anyone's interested, if anybody's listening, especially, on the social equity side, if you're a social equity applicant, call our office. Because while we're waiting for regulations, there are things people can do. Talking to the union, RWDSU, this is a sector that is going to be unionized. RWDSU is the union that is driving that, and so we're connecting people who are interested to RWDSU so that they have the paperwork and they have the understanding of what they need to do early, so it's not kind of all coming at everybody at once as this really starts to pick up. And we're monitoring, of course, as regulations come out and are sharing information. So if anyone is interested or looking to try to get into the industry, interested to learn more, feel free to call our office at 845-331-3810, and we can kind of talk you through what that looks like right now.
So another point of the legislation I wanted to acknowledge that I think is unique and thoughtful was it's fairly well understood that a high percentage, especially in the Northeast, of the marketable cannabis is going to be grown indoors. So that has a carbon footprint component and electricity component. And I think the legislation did a good job acknowledging that and kind of taking lessons from other states and making people who want to grow cannabis be thoughtful about that and employ energy supplies that are renewable. I thought that was the law is kind of curious because it tries to achieve so many things at once beyond just legalizing cannabis.
Yep. No, that's exactly right. And, it's been, as we said, it's been in the works for a long time and has evolved over a long period of time. And they do a good job of that language. I actually have a bill about cannabis grower efficiency standards that I carry in partnership with Assembly Member Pat Fahey, who represents Guilderland and parts of Albany County, to really, really clearly lay out what those energy standards are, because you're exactly right. We've seen, in Colorado, Massachusetts, and other states, absolute, huge increases in energy bills and energy usage. It's a highly energy-intensive industry. So that's why actually here in New York we're promoting outdoor grow as much as possible. That's something former Senator Jen Metzger is on the cannabis board. She's an expert in this field, and she's been really great at kind of promoting and demystifying the outdoor grow space. And again, we've got a great outdoor grow industry right in Kingston and in Ulster with Hempire State Growers and Hempworth Farms. So we know that that's possible, but you're right, a lot of it is going to be grown indoors. And so both with the standards that are already in the MRTA as well as the legislation that I carry with Assembly Member Fahey to really make that clear and to really lock that in early, make people aware of it. It's something that we're really focused on. We have another piece of legislation too that I carry that I think we might have talked about on this show once before, but I'm excited about, is really kicking up the industrial hemp industry by requiring a lot of the things, because obviously cannabis is a high single-use dosage, right, or single-use packaging. And so having all of the packaging actually created with hemp, which is a biodegradable material as opposed to a plastic, would be a game changer, because we're seeing in other states also high levels of waste, right, single-use waste coming out from the industry. And we want to be ahead of that. We want to make sure that we're not creating, we already know, and as you guys know almost better than anyone, we have a solid waste crisis. We don't really know what to do with it. So if we can take that out, if we can remove that challenge and make it biodegradable with hemp and actually kickstart the hemp market so that we can do that with all types of other entities like plastic water bottles, etc. Not only is that really good for the environment, is that better for our local communities, but it's also it's going to be a huge economic and job driver here if we can be a hub of industrial hemp creation in New York.
Yeah, there's opportunities for spin-off there as well. So, if they come up with a good hemp-based cellulose packaging material, obviously that will have a market in all the other consumer products that dependent heavily on traditional plastic. So, I think using this opportunity with hemp coming to the market is a great opportunity to kind of create that energy that's needed to find alternative packaging materials.
Yep, absolutely. We're excited about it.
Yeah.
We are just about out of time. That half hour also flew by. Senator Hinchey, thank you very much for joining us this morning and all the great info, and especially for clearing up that, obviously what would have been some kind of a false blurb that came out with the mask, reinstitution of the mask mandate. So once again, thank you very, very much. I know you have a very, very busy schedule, and we'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. And thank you, Fred Costello, Supervisor of Town of Saugerties. Thank you, Lawrence Maxwell. And most importantly of all, thank you, listeners and viewers. We'll see you the same time, same place, next Wednesday.